Welcome to RedHeadTakes picks for week 10 of the NFL season. Last week I did pretty well again, 11-3. Still kind of upset that I picked the Bills. I don't know why I decided that they would win. I just figured that after the DeMar Hamlin incident last year that maybe they would show something. They kept it close at the very least. Maybe they can beat them in the playoffs if they meet again. But let's get into it. We have another set of NFL games, just a couple of bye weeks. Again, I'm gonna make this clear. I don't think I've ever made this clear. Why can't bye weeks in the NFL season be grouped together more efficiently? Have a couple of weeks where you have 6 teams off, and then you're done with bye weeks by like week 11. There's no reason why you need to have a bye week in week 13. That prevents teams from resting up with injuries, and it's so late in the season where sure it might be a little bit of a boost before the playoff run, but if you're not in the playoff run, it's just another stalling of the mediocrity that the season has been. But let's get into it. We have more games, with first game this week being Carolina and Chicago. Boy, the Chicago Bears still suck. They should probably they had a great chance to win against New Orleans this past week. Carolina, Bryce Young threw a bunch of interceptions and then any chance of that. Boy, this game is going to be a real pick 'em, to be honest. Signs point to Chicago, but I still don't. I don't think Fields is going to play again. There are rumors that he might play, but it is a Thursday game, so I'm going to lean against him playing, to be honest. I bet they still go with Tyson Badger for one more week, just letting Fields get fully healthy, but who knows? Fields is a train wreck anyway from week to week, so you never know what you're going to get. And Carolina just hasn't been good this year after their first week or a win against Houston. They fell back down to earth against Chicago. I mean, they didn't even light it up against Houston, but they did win. And this one, boy, it's a real toss-up. I have no idea what to pick. It was nice for Chicago that Cole Kmet got some touchdowns last week. Of course, after I drop him in fantasy, of course, that always happens. In Carolina, Bryce Young, he's making progress, but still, he's far from what we all think he can be. I think in the end it is in Chicago, so I'll give it to the Bears begrudgingly. It'll probably be a low scoring affair, I would think 17 to 14. I mean, I don't know. It's a real toss up. You could probably go with either of these teams and that'd be okay, and I'd sign off on it. Next, we have Indianapolis and New England. I think this is the last overseas game. Like, thank God, enough of these overseas games. It sucks. I hate going overseas for when any team goes over there. I feel like it just stalls in the first quarter. It takes the teams long to get over that jet lag. We saw with the Chiefs and the Dolphins, although the Chiefs did score right away. And Indy is not great, but they did win last week, and Kenny Moore had a pretty good game against Carolina. New England, again, looked bad. They had a chance to win, but just not good enough. Jonathan Taylor is getting it going for Indy, so that's a big plus for them. Gardner Minshew has done admirably this year. He's been above average quarterback. He's had his mistakes here and there, but he's still a pretty decent backup quarterback, and Indy definitely is one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. I think I'm going to go with Indy with the whole Jonathan Taylor has been doing well. Him and Zach Moss are a great combo. They've been getting the yards from the passing game. Michael Pittman is still there. Their defense isn't great, but it is sneaky good at times, and they like to cause turnovers, like as we saw last week in New England. Mac Jones is just a disaster again. Although he's been playing better of late, they're still not doing enough. The defense is good, but can only do so much and hold back the offensive game so much. So I think I'll go with Indy in this one. Have no interest in really watching this game other than for fantasy purposes, but I don't know. Indy wins 24 to 17. Next we have Cleveland and Baltimore. one of the best games of the weekend by far. Man, this is going to be one to watch. Baltimore has been lighting people up. Now it has against the NFC teams, which Lamar Jackson traditionally does very well against. I mean, past two NFC teams he played just crushed them. Cleveland, their defense has been fantastic. Defense is really keeping them a game, and Deshaun Watson played very well. We've Last week we saw a combination of what a good or a decent Cleveland offense can do with a really great defense. Now they were playing Arizona, so that there's a caveat there, but they did shut them out. And when you shut out any NFL team, it is an accomplishment. Baltimore has been going great, getting more and more players out of nowhere. Keaton Mitchell stepped up last week in a big way. Gus Edwards continued to do well. Odell Beckham had his first touchdown in like over 600 days, so that's pretty good for him. And Zay Flowers, I'm wondering when he's going to get another good game. He didn't do very well last week. I guess that just what happens when you have so many offensive weapons. One is inevitably going to do worse than the others. Who's going to win, defense or offense? Cleveland did win the first matchup, but it is in Baltimore, so I think I'll give the props to Baltimore. I think just depends on which Deshaun Watson you get. If you get the kind that you got last week, who's throwing touchdowns, getting out of the pocket and making plays, or the one that's throwing interception after interception. Lamar Jackson has been great, and their rushing attack has been fantastic. So it's really this is where the rubber meets the road. I think Baltimore wins in a relatively low-scoring game, 20-17. But it's going to be one of the best games of the weekend, and I can't wait to see it. Next, we have San Francisco and Jacksonville. Jacksonville coming off a bye. San Francisco coming off a bye. San Francisco's had 3 straight losses and haven't looked great. Jacksonville has been pretty good, especially with ETN. ETN has had a breakout season this year. And boy, if you picked him in fantasy, boy, you're probably just rolling in it right now. Still, I would like to see more from Trevor Lawrence. He's been doing better of late for sure. Just where's that big 300-yard game consistency? Calvin Ridley has fallen off. Who knows what's going to happen with him? He hasn't had a good game for a while. And San Francisco just got Chase Young. Hadn't had some time to work him into the defense, so maybe he'll provide a spark to the defense, because their defense has been anything but spectacular of late. Their secondary is not good, and the main reason why they are losing games is because it's putting so much pressure on the pass rush. They cannot get to the quarterback every time, and as a result, they're getting blown out. Well, not blown out, but they're getting beat deep a lot of times. It is in Jacksonville, so maybe you give credit to there, but I don't know. I just can't see San Francisco losing 4 games in a row. Though Purdy has not been great, and Jacksonville's defense can be sneaky good at times. They're really good at causing turnovers. What the hell? Let's go with Jacksonville to win. Another great game this week. One of the best of the weekend. Both teams. Well, Jacksonville's been riding high for a while, winning 5 straight, and San Francisco not so much. But San Francisco's going to need to get back into it. Although all of the NFC West teams lost last week, so that's a big boost for them. Jacksonville wins. What did I say? 24-17. Next, New Orleans and Minnesota. New Orleans played really well last week, although at times they could have done better. Alvin Kamara didn't have a great game, not too great a game last week, but they did get in there. They did get a win. We're playing against the Bears. The Bears gave them all they could handle for a while, but they eventually pulled away. We have Minnesota, who win last week with Josh Dobbs, throwing him in after 4 days, just being like 4 days with the team. He comes in after Sharon Hall goes out with a concussion and wins the game against Atlanta. Now, Atlanta is garbage. They are a garbage team. But it is so impressive the way he was able to lead down that last-minute drive and get the win. Should be a great game. New Orleans and Minnesota always give good games when they face each other. This will probably be no different. Minnesota did lose Cam Akers for the rest of the year. Second Achilles injury in like 3 years. Man, that's that's really brutal. Hopefully he can somehow come back from that. Madison hasn't been great this year, although he has been doing a little better of late. No Justin Jefferson again, but Jordan Addison has been filling in admirably. Who knows if KJ Osborne is going to play after the hit he took last week. Saints looking to keep it going because their division is trash, and right now is the time, if you're the Saints, you can pull ahead in that division and really put a number on winning it. Because Atlanta's been bad, Tampa Bay has been bad, Carolina is Carolina. I like New Orleans to win. Honestly, it depends on which New Orleans you're going to get. The good offensive team or the bad offensive team. Because you know their defense is going to be very great. Sneaky good defense. Sneaky good at causing turnovers, of course. But you never know what their offense is going to be on a week-to-week basis. But it is in Minnesota, but I'll give it to New Orleans, winning 27-24. Next we have Houston and Cincinnati. Another good looking game, especially after the game that CJ Stroud had last week. He looked fantastic. And if you're in fantasy football, you hope you started him, because otherwise, if you're like me, you watch him on your bench and you're like, man, you can't expect that, but it sucks. Cincinnati coming up another win against Buffalo. They look good. Who's going to win this game? Both teams are very efficient at offense. Cincinnati definitely has a better defense, though. Houston's defense is coming along. They're still young, though, so they'll need to get better, of course. It's a real test for Houston, a real road test to see where they are at. I mean, they did win last week at home against Tampa Bay, but they were fantastic. CJ Stroud has been great. Definitely the best quarterback to come out of the draft this year so far. Leading contender for Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. But who will win? Can CJ Stroud beat one of the best quarterbacks in the league and solidify himself as the next best quarterback prospect out there? Who knows? I think it's going to be a very well competitive game. I think Cincinnati pulls it out just because of that defense. It's a little better. And I see an interception or some sort of turnover at the end, them pulling it out. But it will be a very competitive game, 28-24 in favor of Cincinnati. But Houston will give them all they can handle. Next, we have Tennessee and Tampa Bay. Tennessee coming off the loss last week. Will Levis didn't look as good as he did in his first game, but understandable against Pittsburgh on a short week. Tampa Bay losing at the end against Houston was just terrible for their defense. Their defense is not good. Their secondary is lacking for sure. Their rushing defense is pretty decent. They held Houston in check last week for most of the game, but CJ Stroud threw all over them, and maybe Will Levis will do the same. I think he has a good chance. Derrick Henry should have another good game. He's been great for this year after the couple first games where he wasn't very good. He's gotten back to Derrick Henry we all know and love, and should be able to get his yards this week, maybe get a touchdown, and help the Tennessee Titans win and stay in that race for a wild card spot in the AFC, even though probably a long shot for them to get it. It should be a competitive game for the most part. I think Tennessee wins just because I think they have a better overall offense, to be honest, but I could see a scenario where Tampa Bay wins. But it should be a good game nonetheless. And Tennessee wins 27-24. Next we have Atlanta and Arizona. Arizona getting blown out last week and shut out by Cleveland. Atlanta losing at the end of Minnesota. A devastating way to end the game. Oh boy, Arizona's not good. Who knows? Or Kyler Murray may return this week, so that might be a bit of a boost. That would definitely help them get a chance to win. Atlanta has not been good. Bijan Robinson has not been great these past couple of weeks. He did decently last week, but was held in check for most of the game, to be honest. Taylor Heineke definitely should be the starting quarterback going forward for Atlanta. Yeah, because Desmond Ridder is terrible. I don't want to see Desmond Ridder out there for Atlanta the rest of the year, to be honest. I just don't think they have much to gain from him going. Yeah, they just don't have much to gain from Desmond Ridder going. I mean, he's shown what he's going to show. I don't think he's a great quarterback. Taylor Heineke isn't great either, but he has shown to be far more competent than Desmond Ridder has. To be honest, this game all depends on Kyler Murray. I may change my pick later in the week depending on if he plays, because I think Kyler Murray could give them a real spark. They're still missing a lot of guys on that team to make Arizona a competitive team, but Arizona can be sneaky good. They just had no chance last week against Cleveland against the defense. They had no chance to win. But I think I'll give Atlanta the win right now, 21-17. But maybe check back later this week and maybe I'll annotate in the comments and let you know who I think is really going to win. But right now, Atlanta wins 21-17, but it should be a competitive game, especially if Kyler Murray plays. Next, we have Detroit and the LA Chargers. Chargers coming off a win on Monday night. They look great. Their defense forced 8 sacks and gave the Jets all they can handle. Detroit coming off a bye. They've been great all year, besides that week in Baltimore and against Seattle. But Detroit should play very well this week. The Chargers defense isn't that great, but maybe, just maybe, the Chargers can cause a couple sacks and get in Jared Goff's face. Justin Herbert didn't have the greatest week last week. I don't know why they weren't able to do better against the defense, even though the Jets have a relatively good defense. Austin Eckler starting to look more and more like his usual self. And the Chargers defense looked great because they scored an opening touchdown or a punt return touchdown, so that was good. Or opening touchdown. I think Detroit wins. To be honest, I think Detroit just has more to go for, but more talent overall. But it should be a relatively competitive game. Detroit, I think in this instance, wins 28-24. I know a lot of the scores are similar, but I just like to average it out, the scores. I think Detroit wins 28-24. Should be relatively competitive, though. It is in LA, so maybe that gives the Chargers a boost. Oh, wait, it's LA, so no home team in the NFL that plays in LA gets a boost from their home crowd because they have everybody from everywhere. Next, we have the Giants and Dallas. Dallas is going to win this game. They're going to win this game. Giants have been terrible. They just lost Daniel Jones for the rest of the year. Probably no. Who knows if he'll suit up again for the Giants again. I'm pretty sure they can cut him loose after this year, despite all the new money. Dallas lost at the end against Philadelphia. I mean, man, that was a real collapse. I mean, they were ready to score, ready to win, and then 2 sacks. It just Dak, you can't take those sacks. You just can't do it. But I see them rebounding this week in a big way. The Giants defense has been relatively competent for the most part this year, but they were eviscerated last week kind of by the Rams, or not the Rams, the Raiders. The Raiders gave them all they could handle. But I don't think the Giants stand any chance of winning this game. If Dallas loses this game, boy, you really got to question if they're real contenders in this week. I mean, if we already are, based on last week, but if they lose to the Giants, yeah, put a pin in them. Dallas wins 35-10, and the 10 might be generous. Next, we have Seattle and Washington. Seattle looking to bounce back in a big way after the licking they took last week to Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore just dominated them in every pass of the game. Their offensive line stood no chance, and Kenny Walker had nowhere to run the whole game. Washington with the win over New England. Didn't have the greatest game, but they look fairly confident. I don't think Washington's going to win this game. I think it's going to be Seattle all the way, to be honest. Seattle's needs to respond in a big way with the San Francisco coming back this week. They need to keep hold on that tie in the NFC West for any chance to win the division, to be honest. But should be a relatively good game for the most part. Sam Howell's been pretty good this year. Brian Robinson has been able to get a few touchdowns here and there. Wish they would give him the ball more, but that's another conversation. Seattle should bounce back in a big way in terms of offense. Their defense should be able to get after Washington, after their offensive line. Seattle wins 28-17. I think Washington gives them all they can for a little bit, but falls behind, falls a little short. Seattle wins 28-17. Next we have the Jets and the Raiders. The Raiders look great last week against the Giants, so you can, when the Giants have to put in a backup quarterback like Tommy DeVito, he doesn't belong in the NFL. Yeah, he just shouldn't be in there. The Jets got all they could handle from the Chargers. I don't know. Both these teams really aren't going anywhere. I don't think either of these teams are going to make the playoffs, especially in the AFC. Don't think either teams are very good. Davante Adams was held in check again. Is he ever going to have another good game this year? I mean, it's like at this point in fantasy, can you really start Davante Adams? But you have to, because of his ability to break out. You don't want to sit him when he's not doing well, but he hasn't been doing well. He's been held in check. I mean, sure, their quarterback doesn't help. Aiden O'Connell is a decent rookie quarterback, but still nowhere near where he needs to be. The Jets just didn't look great against the Chargers. They were not able to get really anything done, and the Chargers gave them all they could handle. It is in Las Vegas, so maybe that gives them the boost. Why is this a Sunday night game? Are you kidding me? I hope this gets flexed. Probably isn't at this point, but why? Why is this a Sunday night game? I know this was made early in the season. That's a possibility of Rodgers against Davante, maybe, or in that aspect. But man, what a terrible game to have on Sunday night. I think the Raiders win just because they've been a better offensive team, but I don't know. It's a toss-up in my opinion. Next we have the last game of the week, Denver and Buffalo. Buffalo needs to bounce back this week in a big way. Denver coming off a bye. Buffalo needs to win. Can Josh Allen go through a game without throwing an interception? The Madden curse seems to be alive and well. It seems to be affecting him in a big way, although he has statistically had a great year. It's just those interceptions always seem to come at the most inopportune times. And as a result, a lot of the games this year where they've lost, it's been like one-score games. And had Josh Allen not thrown an interception, they might have more wins. Denver has looked better of late. Their defense is starting to perform more up to what they can. So Buffalo, you're gonna need to play well on Monday. You cannot suffer another loss. If you lose again, you'll be 5-5, and nobody wants that. You need to win that division to stand any chance in the playoffs. It's gonna go. I think Buffalo comes out in a big way though. On Monday night in Buffalo, Bills Mafia will be out ready to go, ready to cheer on their team because they're some of the best fans in the NFL. Denver has been better of late. Javonte has been getting more run lately, so that's good to see. But I think ultimately Buffalo wins 28-20. And there you go. Those are my picks for the week. As I said, some of these games may change depending on if certain players play or not. But it's looking to be another interesting week. Check out for the video in the next couple of days on the Packers preview against the Steelers. I always break that apart. But there you go. There are my picks. They're not gospel, but that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Otherwise, have a great day. God bless, and go Pack Go.